Hello, everybody. Hello. It's Christina, and I am here live because I am excited to talk to you about decodable texts tonight. If you are tuning in and you can hear me, can you pop in the comments so I know all the technology is working correctly? Can you just say hello? Tell me where you teach and what grade you teach. Let's find out who's here. I am so excited. I'm so excited to talk about decodable texts tonight. I think mostly I'm so excited because I have had a huge mindset shift, as many of us have. Oh, good. I see people can hear me. Hello, Stacy. Okay, from New Jersey, Carrie's here. Awesome. I know so many of us are having a mindset shift on teaching, especially reading, phonics, any of that. And so if you are if you are studying like work aligned to the science of reading, it is so exciting. Like my heart is on fire because it's like part of me is like, oh my gosh, the things that I was doing that was working, there's research why it was working. I wasn't just like doing something, but like all the research is just lighting me up. Anyway, if we are not friends yet, I am so happy to see so many of you here tonight. But if we are not friends yet, my name is Christina Winter. I am a former first grade teacher. I taught first grade for 21 years. A couple of years ago, my family, we made a tough decision to walk out of teaching or to leave teaching for the classroom. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to go back. It's just not right yet. And I am so privileged to have made that decision. With my husband's support, we just figured out how could we, tighten our budgets and make it work. And I cried big tears that I didn't want to leave teaching because I wanted to be a teacher my whole life. And so this is what I do now when my daughter's at school is I work on teaching stuff because I can't get away from it. I love it. And I love talking to other teachers from around the globe. I get to connect with them. So I share on my website, Mrs. Winter's Bliss. You can also find me on Instagram or Facebook, my Facebook group for First Grade Bliss. So welcome. I am so excited because I want to talk about decodable texts. I want to give away prizes. So if you are here, if you like prizes, please give me a Yahoo. Just because I am so on fire. Hi, Tina. I see you there. I see so many friends. So I don't want to waste your time. I know you have been teaching. I want to honor your time, value your time. I wrote a bunch of notes so that I can try to stay focused on what I am talking about. And I also invited my special friend if she would help me if there's any questions that she could pop in the comments and answer some questions as I'm talking. So if you see Laura or if she signed in on my page, then that's what's happening. So I am on a journey to learn best teaching practices and what's making a difference in classrooms. I'm reading a ton of research. I'm taking online courses. I am on it. And I know that you must be too, because you are so dedicated to be here on your own time. So what I wanted to say, we're going to talk about, I got my notes right here. We're going to talk about choosing and using decodable text effectively. We're going to talk about lesson routines, and we're going to talk about good phonics instruction from your class. So, and also, if you have any ideas or anything, pop them in the comment as well, because we are chatting. We are a community of learners here. But the first thing I have a good question for you is, what if your school has a phonics program or a reading program that includes phonics with it that you're using? I know, like my school, we used Letterland. The school before that, we used Open Court. Do you have a program that is working for you? I'd love to hear about it. And maybe a thumbs up or thumbs down if you like it, what it is it's working for you. So, um, first off, let's go ahead and define the word decodable text. What is that exactly? It is a story, a book, a poem, a passage, any kind of work of text that is very controlled with the phonics skills that your learners have been taught up until that point. Um, your decodable, I'm going to say text, your text would have like you would be following a scope and sequence as you are teaching phonics. And so a good decodable text would have it would have only those skills that you've already covered. Unfortunately, there are publishers out there who are putting out decodables, and they will have a mix of skills. And yes, the words are decodable, but if your students have not gotten to long vowels early in the year, then those words really aren't decodable because they haven't been explicitly taught. We're going to talk all about that. But a good decodable text gives your students a lot of practice, an abundance of practice. And so, like, if you are like me, I did not teach small groups. I did not teach using decodable text for many, many years. I use leveled readers. And so you may have heard like the, not back and forth, but the difference about them, just so we're all clear, we're all kind of understanding the same thing. So a leveled reader is like level A or B, C. They might say, my kid's reading a B, or my kid's reading a 5-6. I had book boxes in my classroom where my kids would go self-select leveled books to read independently. Okay, so I didn't know. It's okay. If you don't know, if this is all new for you, no guilt. No guilt. You're here, you're learning, and tomorrow you're going to do better. And you're taking one step at a time, right, friends? So, a leveled reader is a book that's very reliant on pictures. A book my kids read all the time was like, I like the blue balloon, turn the page. I like the red balloon, turn the page. I like the green balloon, right? Or this is an apple. This is an orange. Or a bird is in the sky. An airplane is in the sky. It's like a pattern story, but the kids have to look at the pictures to really understand what they're reading. So now we're all celebrating. They're reading. They got it, right? That was our old way of thinking. What we know from the research, and I'm not going to go deep into the research, but if you want to get more information, if there's something I touched on and you want to know more, drop in the comments, say, I want to know more about whatever, and I will send you an article, a link. I will comment back to you because, again, I want to stay really focused on what I'm talking about. But we know from the research that our students really need to attend to the phonemes and the graphemes and make those correspondences so that they can orthographically map and that they can have instant retrieval on words, right? And so our students need to struggle through those decodable texts. But there are ways that we can help them to get them ready for the decodable text, to make it to help them be proficient, and to help them so that they're actually learning how to read. Okay, so like an example of a decodable text, I just printed out this passage. The bag, it's a short A passage, it's a very beginning passage because your scope and sequence, many of you, I bet, who use Benchmark, really great reading. Letters training, yay, Benchmark, Jolly Phonics. I saw Open Court, Jessica's using Open Court, Phonics to Reading, yes. All those programs, I bet you started if you're a first grade teacher, or when you get in kindergarten to short vowels, you probably start on short A, right? So Dad had a bag. I can pack the bag. A rat was in the bag. Ah, a rat. The bag has a rat. Dad ran. The rat ran. As Dad ran, Dad and the rat ran, and man. So you can hear like a decodable text, that's short A. All the words in there have short A and a couple of high frequency words because this would be the first skill introduced, right? So that would be the difference between decodable and a level text. And so one of the gurus I like to learn from, I think he's excellent. I'm not getting paid for saying this. I'm just sharing my experience. Wiley Blevins, I feel like he is really knowledgeable at phonics instruction. And he breaks it down that it's really easy and like to understand and tangible so that you can really see how some of the practices he recommends how you could do them in your classroom. So I highly recommend this book, A Fresh Look at Phonics by Wiley Blevins. I have a ton of articles on my blog about chapters in this book and different activities that you could do. But Wiley Blevins, he says that there are 7 key ingredients for strong phonics instruction. So 7. He says readiness skills is number 1. So we all know, right, that the foundation of our students' learning, their foundational skills, is phonemic awareness. He says that right away, like phonemic awareness, alphabet recognition activities, bringing those learners in, that's the foundation. And if you are wondering about, I also brought this book because this is I don't know, these two are like my favorites, right? This is Equipped for Reading Success by Dr. David Kilpatrick. This is an amazing, amazing book. Again, I'm not getting paid, but I highly recommend this book. Don't order it on Amazon. Order it at Equipped for Reading Success. It is much cheaper, $50. It's an investment as your principal. Ask somebody to buy it for you, but you won't be sorry. But he takes all the research and he is all about word recognition and phonemic awareness. And half of the book is phonemic awareness drills that you can do with your students. I know a lot of schools use Heggerty, but this is like an alternative program that a lot of people really, really like. So this is back to Wiley Blevins, but he says one of the key ingredients is phonemic awareness. So this is a resource if you are looking for that. And the second key ingredient he talks about is a scope and sequence. So you have to find, if you have a good program, then you probably have noticed this about your phonics program, but your phonics program scope and sequence, meaning what are you going to teach in a very systematic way, okay? Systematic, we want to start from simple to more complex, and we want to build upon each other, and we want to do it in a way that makes sense. So skills are building, right? And we want also to be careful that we are separating confusing things. For example, I bet you can think about the letter short E. Short E and short I are often confused. So at the beginning, as you're just rolling out those short vowels, you wouldn't want to teach short E and short I at the same time. Just until your students really have a strong understanding. So your scope and sequence, you're going to look for one that isn't teaching confusing letters at the same time. If you're teaching like long A, you're not going to roll out all the different patterns the same time because there's 4 ways that you can spell long A, 4 graphemes that you can spell like A, or A with a silent E, AI and AY. You don't want to roll those all out at the same time, but you want to, your scope and sequence should have you building upon them. Your scope and sequence should also allow for plenty of review, right? Okay. Third success ingredient that our friend Wiley Blevins has to say. I'll try to go a little bit faster. Blending, 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 blending. So that is the primary decoding strategy that our students are going to use. That is when they are taking strings of letters and they're the sounds in there, making them into printed words to read. And us, because we are teaching explicitly, right? We're frequently modeling and applying our connected or applying what we're doing, we're applying it. The phonemes that we're learning, we're applying that to the connected text, the words or the text, the sentences, the passage, the books, the things. But students are blending, right? So we have to give a lot of opportunities for our friends to do that. And I'm going to show you in Wiley Blevins in a little bit, but one of his, I don't know if he invented it or he named it, but one of the instructional practices he recommends is blending lines. So we're going to look at that too. Yes, Jessica, blending is so important, right? So what goes with that next, after blending, his next ingredient is dictation. And dictation actually is one of my favorite things that we did in our class. But it is guided spelling. It is when you are doing like a teacher think aloud. You could do teacher think aloud, but you're modeling how students transfer their phonics skills into their writing. So you can dictate, you can, teach your students how to get what your mouth is doing into a printed word. Okay. So again, he goes deep, like each chapter is all about each one, but I'm trying to keep it short so we can all go, finish up a little bit on time. Okay, number 5. There are 7 success ingredients. Number 5, word awareness activities. That would be like word chaining, word ladders, word sorts. But it is consolidating what students are learning and putting it into practice, solidifying their learning. So, and while students are doing word ladders and word sorts, there should be conversations about how words work. For example, if your students are sorting, let's say they're doing a word sort and they're sorting words, and I have a lot to say on it, but I'm going to keep it short. If they're sorting words that have CH and TCH, well, TCH comes after a short vowel, right? So your students should begin to understand or recognize that the word itch or the word match has TCH because the TCH follows the short vowel. So those conversations that really solidify their learning, right? So those word awareness activities are important. High frequency words, that is the next success ingredient for teaching phonics. And that sounds weird because high frequency words, some people don't associate. If you were like me, you used to teach words by holding up a flashcard and then putting it away. Drop a 1 in the comment if you used to do that with me. Because I did it forever. I used to send home lists and say, memorize these words, said, the, to, and, of, he. We know that is not how students should be learning high frequency words. And I have a ton of stuff about this on my website. And if you want to know more, I am happy to talk to you about that also. But we now know that our students should be using their phoneme knowledge, their phonemic awareness, phoneme knowledge to connect the phonemes to the sounds in the words. And so our students might use something you might have heard from me or other people called the heart word method. And so what that means is that students are only having to learn the tricky part by heart. So in the word said, they can connect the S at the beginning to the letter S. They can write S. At the end, they hear D. So they could write D. That is the regular part, the only irregular part. is the AI that says the eh sound. And so we teach our students that that is the part we have to know by heart. I have several blog posts on that. If you're interested, just write yourself a little note that you're going to go back to that or ask me later. So we have readiness skills, scope and sequence, blending, dictation, word awareness activities, high frequency words, and the last success ingredient that Wiley Blevins talks about is reading connected text. And what that means is that our students are taking what we are teaching them. We're explicitly teaching. This is the digraph CH. The digraph CH makes the sound ch. We're set, right? So we're explicitly teaching when we have the consonant C, the consonant H together. We hear the ch sound. We write letters CH together when we hear the ch sound. In active, we have a sound wall. We're connecting that to the picture. We're talking about what's our mouth doing, what's our teeth doing, our lips doing, what do we hear? Do we hear air? All those things that we are explicitly teaching our students, we're taking what we've taught them and we're connecting it in the text. And that is decodable text, decodable passages, poems, text, books. But it is controlled. Again, we said it's controlled text because it has only the skills that students have been taught up until that point, and a lot of practice of the skill, the target skill that you're working on. So if this week you're working on short A, you bet that decodable text should have a lot of opportunity for students to practice short A. But it's a real reading experience for students because the whole point of our students to learn phonics is what? To make meaning and read, right? Okay, I've been talking a ton. I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to ask a question and I'm going to do a giveaway. So my first giveaway right now, I'm going to give a tumbler. This tumbler, it says Teach with Bliss. It's so fun. You can get a drink of water. Doing a water challenge where I'm trying to drink 3 of those a day. So let's see. My question for a winner. Let's see. All you have to do is tell me, do you have a good scope and sequence? Yes, I like it. No, I don't. I need one. Just pop in the comments and tell me, what about your scope and sequence? Do you have one? Do you need one? I'm going to take a second. So I can catch my breath because now we know the 7 ingredients for phonics success. So we have a lot of people who, let's see. Okay, I'm going to pick randomly by putting my finger right there. Okay, Bonnie. It went fast. Bonnie Six Toes. I think it said something like, I need one. Is that what it said? I'm going to scroll back. Okay, I'm going to make this quick. I need one for special ed. Bonnie, okay, what you're going to do is you are going to email me when we are finished here, hello@mrswintersbliss.com, and say, I want a tumbler. And I'll need your address. So message me and say, this is my address, and I'll mail it to you this week. Okay, let's get going because I have more giveaways to give away. I want to give away more stuff because I'm so impressed that there are so many of you here tonight on a Tuesday night of the week of Halloween. Please, Halloween. Okay, rough week. Okay, next thing let's talk about. So let's recap really quick. We know what decodable text is. We know how it's different from level text that we used to use with our students to teach in small group. But we're not going to do that anymore because we don't want our students, I'm going to go into a little bit deeper, but we don't want our students looking at the pictures to guess the word or to use the pictures because they're not really reading. We want our students attending and using their phonics skills to read, right? So we're going to get into that a little bit deeper. But again, my friend Wiley Blevins, we're besties, right? I wish I could meet him actually. I wonder if I could ever like see him talk. He wrote another book. Actually, I have 3 of his books. But he wrote this book pretty recently. It's called Choosing and Using Decodable Texts. And this is what got me really excited about it. You might have heard that I just finished working on a resource that over 6 months of work of decodable passages. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that as well, and also give you the link so that you can download some free decodable passages to use in your classroom tomorrow. But that is what got me really excited about working on that resource, because teachers were telling me I don't have decodable anything. Like my school is all our book room. We have like thousands of leveled books, and where do I get decodables? So when I was reading this book here, I was thinking about what makes a decodable book a good, high quality decodable book. Because when I was teaching just a few years ago, before I started all this learning and research aligned to the science of reading, I was like, decodables, ew, nobody likes those. Ew, they're so boring. Oh, the cat sat, the bat sat, the mat sat, like so boring. Who wants to read that? My kids are going to think that's like babyish and all of that. I was like so turned off by that. That was me. That was my thinking. That was me. Because what we're finding out is that kids actually love decodable books. I bet some of you have noticed that. You can pop it in the comments. But what Wiley Blevins tells us is that there's been a lot of research. Again, I could share with you the research. I can point you in a direction if you love reading the actual research. And I don't really want to just say what he says. I want to read it to you from this book so that I can get the words out exactly how he says it, because he tells us what makes it a high quality decodable book. There was, in 1985, the government document Becoming a Nation of Readers set a criteria for creating controlled decodable text. And according to this report, this is what the 3 criteria that we need to look for in decodable text. So I'm going to read it really quick. Maybe I won't read all of it. But he says, number 1, they need to be comprehensible. That means the majority of the words need to be decodable based on sound spellings that have been previously taught, what we already said. There should be enough words of the new target phonics skill for children to get ample practice. Oh, I'm sorry. I was reading the wrong thing. Let's go back. I knew that didn't sound right. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm so excited to talk about this. Comprehensible. The story should make sense and follow natural sounding English spoken and written patterns. No sentences in these stories, as a proficient reader of English, no sentences should be in the stories that you would have never uttered. So they should make sense. They should not sound natural, how we talk as proficient English speakers, right? Now, instructive. I already told you. The majority of the words must be decodable with the sound spellings that students have already learned. And there needs to be ample practice of the target skills that students are working on learning that week during, your instruction or that instructional cycle. The third thing, so comprehensive, instructive, and engaging. And so this is where my mind shift was like, the kids are gonna like them. They're gonna think they're baby books and all that stuff. Which I should have known, because I actually did have some Bob books in my class many, many years ago. And the kids did like those books. But engaging, that means they want to read the stories again and again. The books must be engaging. The kids must want to revisit them because they're going to develop fluency, but they also have to be meaty enough that the kids are going to want to write about them or retell the story. So they can't just be like, the cat sat on the mat, the rat sat on the mat. They have to be meaty enough that there was actually something that happened in the story, right? So that is kind of a summarization of what he says that distinguishes them as high quality. But he also warns us of things that are issues in decodables that we need to look out for, things that we need to stay away from, right? Yes, so the book is called Choosing and Using Decodable Text. I did get this on Amazon. I don't think it was very expensive. I don't remember, but it's an easy read and lots of good information. So he warns us to stay away from books that have very low utility words. Like sometimes people want to do like a short U passage. And so they say, I can lug the cat with the rug. Or, do kids use the word lug? That's a very low utility word. That's not a word that probably we want to put in our decodable passage, decodable book, right? Put it in the vat. I mean, I don't ever remember a 6-year-old saying, put it in the vat. So that's like the low utility words. We want high utility words for our students. We want to stay away from text that has non-English non-standard English sentence structure. Like I was looking at a text and it says something like, the pup did run at Kit, because they want all decodable words. That does not make sense. That's not how our kids are, sometimes tongue twisters are fun, but sometimes it's a little bit too much. So nonsensical sentences, tongue twisters, we could try to stay away. Again, we want like real stories that sound authentic to a book, right? How we read a book. And it is a little difficult, I have to say, writing these decodable passages at the beginning when you are very limited. You're starting on short A when you have no other. It is hard. I just read to you The Bag. It's not my favorite, but kids are able to read it. So, and then also staying away from odd names, like Ben had mem. Ben had mem. I can't even say it. Ben had mem. So, we want to use those decodable names, but mem. I don't know anybody named Mem. So, okay. So we're going to keep going forward. So he gives us a lot of ideas, but those were his main points of kind of some issues that they have seen from publishers and writers. But what's happening is that makes meaning hard for students to figure out what's exactly happening. And remember, our goal for reading or using decodables is giving our students ample practice of their new phonics skill and in the text, and for them to gain meaning from what they're reading. Okay. So let's talk about benefits of using decodable text. So why we know like a little bit, I talked a little bit about leveled readers and what we see, what the research tells us, what our students were doing. But the benefits, what are the benefits of our students using decodable passages, decodable books? We want to use them because they give our students the opportunity to practice what we've explicitly taught, and it's connected to the text, the skills that they've been learning. Now it's like they're not just like learning these things, these things. They're like taking their learning and connecting it, and they get meaning, which I know first graders, kindergartners, like that's like, wow, it sparks them. Like, this is exciting. And it's going to like encourage them to learn more, right? So, in fact, one of the studies I was reading about is saying that children, when they are using decodable text, that children progress so much faster in their phonics skills by applying their skills, what they're learning in your explicit lessons to like the authentic text rather than using like drill and kill or worksheets. It's what we're finding out is really where the learning sticks. Secondly, using decodable text, it forces our students to practice decoding words while reading rather than guessing using the picture. It's forcing them to attend to the print. They're not looking at the picture and then reading, this is a red balloon. They actually have to use their decoding skills to unlock the words. Okay. And then third, another benefit, it builds our students' confidence. Students who are successfully using their decoding skills to unlock meaning, they know I'm actually reading, right? They know it. So they're going to be excited and more confident. So, lessons, routines. Let's move on to lesson routines. And I'm going to speak to you from some routines that I have set in my decodable passages, but I think that the lesson routines I'm going to talk about, you could use with any decodable text, right? So, what we want to do is do high impact activities before, during, and after reading. And so these lesson routines, I'm kind of thinking about them being about 20 minutes. So you're going to spend about 8 minutes doing the before reading work, during reading about 6 minutes, and then after reading about another 6 minutes of work. So these decodable, what I'm going to show you, and I'm going to actually give some away. So I hope that we have some lucky winners here. I just released just today, I'm so excited, decodable passages. And like I said, I'm going to share with you a link when I'm done after I show you them so that you can download some free decodable passages. I also have an opportunity for you to get them at a really big discount because they're brand new. So this is my resource of decodable passages, and I have a very explicit 2-page lesson plan for a teacher, and it goes through the before reading activities. So that's what I want to talk to you about. Again, if you use this resource or you use a different one, you can just use this kind of as like a guide to help you. If you have decodable text or you're going to get some, I see other people are popping in there telling other companies like High Noon, Flyleaf has ones, Half Pint Kids, Bob Books, Jolly Phonics. You might have some old decodable books. If you have old reading series like Scholastic or Hoot Mifflin, might have some old ones in the back cover. Those would be free for you to get. But again, just check your scope and sequence so that you can make sure it's going to line up and be best for your students. So, lesson routine. So our first thing is that we are going to tell our students explicitly what they are learning. We are going to prepare them for reading by explicitly saying, hi friends, we are going to be learning the digraph WH. The digraph, two consonants together, and when you put those consonants together, they make a new sound. Say the sound with me. So you're going to go through that with them. You could show them words that have the digraph WH, blend the words in front of them, but you are explicitly teaching your students what you want them to know. There's no guessing. It's like you are straight now telling them what you're going to teach them. You can also tell them, friends, I want you to turn to your partner and tell your partner, what does the digraph WH say? Right? So is out there. This is what I want you to know. There's no guesswork. This is exactly what you're learning. You're connecting it to what they've already learned. And you're being very explicit, and you're modeling, you're going to model some words that have the WH digraph with your students. And this is where Wiley Blevins also talks about blending lines are a great tool to do that. So in my resource, this passage has WH. This passage is called Catch the Frog. This passage is after students have learned short vowels. They have learned blends, beginning and ending blends, and they've learned some digraphs. So that's where this is in the scope and sequence, kind of close to the end of that section. But students are going to use blending lines. Now, blending lines are just some words. Let's see if I can pop it up here so you can see it a little bit closer. But you can see on row 1, that's what we call known to new or minimal contrast. So students know hen, but you're going to teach them, like you're going to write hen and everybody, let's tap it, let's sound it. Okay, if I put WH, there's our digraph WH. Now hen becomes when, and you're going to, tap or sound the word. You're going to tap the word. You're going to say the word. However you do that. I was sharing this the other day, but something my kids liked is they like doing the like shoulders, waist, toes, if you want to get them up and move them around a little bit so that you could say like, what's the first sound? What's the middle sound? What's the end sound? Letterland, they do like the, tapping, tap it, and then they blend it together. I think it's called the roller coaster trick. I know Foundations does the tapping with their fingers. So however you can get them moving, right? So they can tap it. But blending lines is great because it is, again, we're preparing students to read. I'm not going to give this to them right away as we're doing that instruction and modeling for our students. But then when they are ready, when you're ready to give this to them, you can you'll know your students if they're ready or not. But again, I'm a big fan of don't give your students anything. Set your procedures and routines very strongly. Don't give it to them until you are ready for them to actually attend to this. So they have their blending lines, and they're going to, you could start by having them choral read them together. And then also make sure to correctly, correct them, give them some feedback. If they make mistakes, have them go back, try it again, but you model for them, and then you have them copy you and try it again. So you're going to go through the blending lines. Now, these blending lines have, this is the known to new. So that's the new, what they know and what they're learning. And then this is words at the beginning that have that target skill. And at the beginning, and then we have some blends at the end, blends at the beginning. This is like a review of things they've already learned. And then there's even some challenges here. So this can be differentiated. And then there are sentences that are actually in the passage. So you're really front loading your students and getting them ready to go. So this comes with my decodable passages so that it's just like print and go. You don't have to do any thinking, but you could do that too. And Wiley Blevins lays it out in his book, how to do that, like what kind of things to include in the blending lines. But blending needs to be part of your before reading. And then the next thing in the before reading is that we need to introduce or review the high frequency words that students are going to encounter, because those are the words that students cannot decode, right? Well, excuse me. They can decode most of it, but part of it is the part that they need to know by heart, right? So those are the words that they're going to need to, they're not following that skill that you are teaching during that lesson, okay? So in this passage, there's was, you, what, who, put, from. And I have a lot to say on that, but I'm going to say I have a scope and sequence on my website as well on how to teach your high frequency words connected to your phonics skills. So if you are teaching WH, that is a great time for students to learn words like when and what that have the WH, right? We're connecting. If you're teaching short E, that is when you can teach high frequency words like 10 and red and okay, moving on. All right, so before reading, so we are explicitly teaching we are modeling with blending. We are introducing our high frequency words, introducing them with the heart word method, or maybe reviewing it because of the heart word method takes a little bit longer to explicitly teach those words, but just bringing their attention that those words are in the passage they're going to read. Okay, now we're ready to almost get started reading our passage or our book, but we want to preview with our students. This story is called, and I already have it here, the title of our story is Catch the Frog. What do you think is going to happen in the story? Well, in my passage, Catch the Frog, there are no pictures. So my friends aren't going to look at the pictures and come up with something, and then they are going to keep, they're hearing their friends talk about their prediction, and then they're going to get stuck on that one idea of something that really is never even going to happen in that story. But they can just like talk about the ideas that are in their head. They have no pictures. So just using their background knowledge, that's when you could build up their background knowledge, help them with some ideas to kind of get them ready to read. And the other thing is that we can also include, even though this isn't going to be in the text, Wiley Blevins suggests that we include tier 2 vocabulary. So in this passage, Catch the Frog, there's an academic word that you can pre-teach, worried. So you're just quickly going to say, what does worried mean? It means to be anxious or concerned about a situation. Here's an example. Jack was worried he didn't study and he would fail the test. What's something that you've been worried about? You can quickly go through. Just again, we're building up their prior knowledge, giving them some vocabulary to talk about what they're going to read. So now we're ready to get to the text, but I'm going to stop right here and let's do a giveaway because I've been talking a lot. Giveaway question. Let's see. I'm going to give away a bundle of my passages to somebody. Let's see. Let's ask, does your book room, if you have a book room or you have access to books that you might use in small group or to practice reading with your students, do you have leveled books or decodable books or both? What do you have? Tell me in the comments what you have. Let's see. What do we have? What do we have? What do we have? Lots of people. Tell me what you have. I hope you say decodable books, leveled books, both. No book room. Shoot. No book room. Leveled only. Karen. Emily has both. Let's see. Okay, let's just see. I'm going to have to close my eyes and pick somebody randomly. And that person is Stacy Marsh. Stacy, you now are going to own 60 decodable passages that you can use with your students. So what you're going to do is you're just going to send me a message, email me hello@mrswintersbliss.com and say, I won the bundle of passages, and I will mail those out to you. Not mail, I will email them back to you. So Stacy, great job. All right, so now we said, let's see, we now are ready to read the passage. So we have front loaded our students. We have given them so much. So they are like ready. They are excited to read because they know you're going to love this. They're going to read Catch the Frog. So these passages are written for them. And so you're going to start with your students. You can first read the passage together, chorally with your students, stopping and giving them corrective feedback. Of course, there's a whole routine I have that during reading, if you don't know how to give corrective feedback to your students, it's really important that we don't just kind of keep letting them go, but that we stop them immediately and correct that mistake, so that they don't keep doing it wrong. We don't want them to keep doing it wrong. So we point, I'll just go through it really quickly, but there's a routine. So you point to the missed word. You state it correctly. So you're explicitly saying the word correctly. You're going to have the children repeat after you, have the child repeat after you, then have them blend the word again, and then go back and reread the sentence again. right? So we're stopping them so they don't keep making that same mistake, right? So that's on the lesson plan for you. But you can chorally read the story, or you can have them whisper read the story so that you can kind of like listen in. I like to if I'm doing this in small group, I can kind of like listen in to this one and then listen in, kind of like listen in. You can kind of hear them. You can do that. If you're doing it in whole group, then you can have the students bring this passage. If you're using a passage or a book, you can have them bring it to your small group and do that as your quick warm up as you're getting ready to do your other small group task or your closing task. Or you can like decide how you're going to split your time around the room, how you're going to maybe go to this table, because these ideas can be used in small group or in whole group. Because really we want our students all to have this knowledge and skill and application practice. Remember what Wiley Blevins said, that there's 7 ingredients, and he says in his book, one of the reasons, and I'm summarizing here, but our students are not getting enough practice. Too many of us are teaching for exposure and not to mastery. So we really have to give them a lot of practice to solidify their learning. So as they're reading the text, so they're going to read the text. And then after they read the text, then you can work on oral comprehension questions. So I've already written out some questions for you to discuss with your students. There are also in these passages, there's also written comprehension questions that the students can use to talk about the text. You can have them do story retell, things like that. But they should be talking about the text and doing some comprehension work. You can even have them, turn their paper over and draw if that's, mix it up a little bit. You don't always want to do the right thing, but I do have comprehension questions. There's questions that they're using their phonics skills. There's text evidence questions like, when did Ben get the cut, right? There's higher level questions that they can talk about. Do you think that Jess was worried about Ben? How do you think Ben feels that he did not catch the frog? And then there's also questions, text to self questions connection. So have you ever had a friend get hurt? Were you worried about them? So those questions probably don't all make sense because I didn't read the passage to you, but this passage is about Ben who cut his leg, and Jen asked, when did you get that cut? I got cut when I was in the pond to catch a frog, Ben said. What was the cut from? Was it from glass? Who put glass in the pond? So can you hear that we are practicing blends, which is the last thing that students had learned, blends like glass and pond, right? We're reviewing those skills. Frog. It was from a big rock, which was in the pond. I had to whack, W-H, a bug, and I fell on a rock, said Ben. Did you get the frog? Jess asked. I did not get the frog, said Ben. It was fast. That frog can swim and hop. So it's a story for our friends. Our friends love this, right? So we have read the passage. I have made my decodable passages so that students, we're not just going to read it one time, whether it be a book, a poem, a text. We're going to read it several times because our students have opportunity to work on their reading fluency skills. And so I have created it so you can have like 2 days of activities. You could print these like back to back, but there's comprehension questions, and then there's written response questions for the students to do. And you can print those back to back. And I also recorded myself reading. Actually, I read the passage 3 times. I read it to them so they can hear me reading, and I give directions like listen to me read and point. And then the second time we read together, and then the third time we whisper read so that they can kind of hear themselves reading a little bit also. But that's a scaffold of support for your students. Your struggling students who maybe need a little bit more help, they can listen again at another time of the day or for more practice independently, that they can zap that QR code and they can do that on their own, or they could even do it at home, right? A lot of students have access to an iPad, tablet, phone, mobile device that they can scan that QR code and they can do that, practice their reading again. So that's the routine. So we have, again, just to recap, with any passage book, we want to do a lot of front loading to help our students, but we are explicitly connecting what they are learning in their phonics skills that you're explicitly teaching, and we're putting it in this connected text, this controlled text for our students to help them solidify their learning. So before we're explicitly teaching, we're modeling blending, we're doing some blending, we're introducing or revisiting the sight words or high frequency words that are going to be in the text. We're previewing and talking about to build up their vocabulary and their prior knowledge, right? Some friends maybe have never been to a pond, so talk about that. We're going to do a first reading together. We're giving them corrective feedback. And then we're going to do some comprehension work with what they've read. That's, meaningful to them. That makes sense of why are we reading, right? We can talk about what we're reading. We can hear what our friends think about the reading and all that. And then I highly suggest, if you're using these passages, that you have your students keep them in a book box or wherever so they can read them independently and keep practicing their fluency, or maybe you send them home as part of if you do any kind of reading homework for students to do. Same with the blending lines, give them, you can add ask them to, put a little check or put a little star or something like that, give them, if they want to put a stamp on it, some way to keep them engaged and motivated. So that is my resource, but that is a lesson routine that you can use. If you are interested, this resource, like I said, I worked for over 6 months because I was really, really intentional and making sure I had the perfect scope and sequence, but also lining up my high frequency words in a way that makes sense to teach them with the phonics skills that you're teaching. And then all those things that Wiley Blevin tells us about making sure that our texts, that they are comprehensive, they're instructive, they're engaging. I wanted these decodable passages. That's why they took so long to create. I wanted them to be the perfect resource for you. And so today I'm celebrating. And if you are interested, if you need this resource in your classroom, I would be happy to share it with you for 40% off. I'm put it on sale because I know a lot of teachers purchase materials on their own. So I wanted to share it with you 40% off. It's today and tomorrow only, till tomorrow at midnight. So that's November 3rd, 40% off. It will never be that much of a discount again, even at any kind of sale that we ever have. But if you don't want it, that's okay. I'm happy to give you a sample that you can take a closer look. So my friend's going to drop a link so that you can download the sample. You can look closer at it. And if you just want to use the sample and get some ideas and create your own template where you're going to have before and after, or before, during, and after, you can use that template to do your own lesson plans as well with any decodable books that you have poems or passages, right? So again, 60 decodable passages includes all the lesson plans, comprehension, writing, QR codes with the audio, and the blending lines. It's all there for you, ready to go, print and teach. And it's so sweet. So many teachers have told me some really nice things that they already downloaded today, and they're so excited. So I'm so excited for you too. I can stay longer if there's any other questions, if I can help with anything. I really hope I brought some value to you today. And again, I just really think that, first of all, I'm so impressed by you coming at 8 o'clock at night on a Tuesday after Halloween. In fact, let's do another giveaway, okay? Candy, Halloween candy. What is your favorite Halloween candy? Let's do a giveaway for a bundle of passages and we'll find out what is your favorite Halloween candy. And hopefully someone says mine and that's who the winner is going to be. Let's see. Oh, you're so sweet, Emily. Thank you for the recordings. Oh, yes. Inside the bundle, I put a recording to talk to you a little bit more. Okay, wonderful. My goodness, so many. Let's see. Okay, my favorite. I just ate one before we jumped on here. Rosemarie Basden said Reese's Cups. I ate one of those Reese's Cups before we joined in here. I took it out of my daughter's candy bag. So, Rosemary, you know the drill. You're going to email me and say, I won the Passages bundle. My email address to send it is hello@mrswintersbliss.com. Jessica likes Twix, peanut M&Ms. Oh, I'm so glad that I'm not the only one who loves all the candy. Anyway, I am so glad that you came. Thank you so much. And if you're watching the replay, I'm glad you have any questions, just drop them in here and I'm happy to answer you back. So I'm going to sign off for now, friends, but I will see you next time. Bye-bye.